choosing correctly here, depending on the size of your solar and battery, is going to make a huge difference to how much money you save. G'day everyone, Dan and Matt here. Today we're talking about Amber or VPPs generally versus things like Ovo, Globird and other time-based tariffs. It makes a big difference. It really does. And I have an Amber VPP account. Matt, you're obviously with Ovo on the time-based.
Yep.
A lot of people ask us what the difference is. I guess the short answer is if you've got a big battery for your use, go VPP, go Amber.
Yep.
If your battery is a little bit smaller and it's not going to get you through those peak times, probably then a time-based tariff is better.
Yeah.
So to start, why don't we go with, give us an overview of what the Ovo tariff is, which is very similar to Globird,
Yep.
very similar to those other time-based ones. Give us an overview of what that is and then how you use it to your advantage. And then I can do the same with Amber.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I use Ovo, and as you mentioned, Globird and a couple of others also have this option now. So they provide a completely free window of power between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. I also believe there's another retailer now doing 10 till 1.
Okay.
So a 3-hour window in the middle of the day. Ultimately, the reason they're doing that is there's an abundance of solar being exported into the network that can't be used. So they're offering that to anyone and everyone that wants to soak that up and take it, whether that be to fill your battery, cover your needs in general. And then what you'll tend to find is you'll get that free window in the middle of the day and then quite likely a higher peak rate outside of that.
Yep.
So the peak rate at 4 until 9 p.m. may be 50 or 60 cents per kilowatt hour. Ultimately, if you have a battery there, you're covering and protecting yourself against that higher rate. So that peak rate could be $5. It probably isn't relevant if your battery is big enough to get you through that time.
Yeah.
So there is a caveat and a variable there. But the way I use it to my benefit is I try and isolate pretty much everything in the home: hot water, pool, EV charging when I'm home, aircon when I'm home, anything else into that free window, and obviously my battery charge. So regardless if it's pouring down with rain or beautiful sunny day all year, I know I can fill up my battery for completely free and also cover off those other things that are obviously happening every day: hot water heating, pool filter, washer, dryer, whatever else you can get into that time. So you're saving a huge amount from your bill, but also knowing that your battery is full each day is really key for me.
Yeah, and we were just talking about this before in a little bit more detail, and you're actually pretty stringent with how you do that in terms of the aircon's probably a good one because your pool and your hot water is a set and forget.
Yeah.
You put them on a timer or you set up a relay so that diverts energy to the hot water or obviously uses free energy from the grid. That's done then, but other things like your aircon takes a little bit more thought, and then obviously setting up things like your dishwasher and your washing machine. So maybe could you explain how you do that?
Yeah, so the aircon, and this would be quite common probably for a lot of modern homes, that you'll have like a tablet or like a My Air is the more common brand that obviously sort of just gets used as the name. So on that you can obviously select zones and temperatures and other things, but you can also select the time that it turns on and potentially turns off. You can also do that with a split system with a remote a lot of the time as well. So what I do once we get to that sort of November, December time is I'll make my aircon turn on at 11 a.m. and then before it's sort of peak summer, I'll just run that 11 till 2. There's also an app on my phone that I have it with the aircon that I have, that my colleague nicely put in for me a few years ago. So if the missus is home and I'm just feeling a bit mean, I can just turn that off. But you know what I mean? That's another conversation for another video. But ultimately, I can turn it off if I need to anyway. Sometimes I just forget and it's just running. And obviously, if it's a nice day, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But regardless, I'll have that on 11 till 2. So I know I've sort of pre-cooled my home. Once you get to that January, February time and your aircon's running more often than not, I'll just have it turn on at 11 and then there's no turn off time.
Okay.
So then, you know what I mean? You come home at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, whatever time you let me leave. And then obviously your house is nice and cool and you can start doing the other things that you do. And then if you have it on all night, it's on all night. But the main thing is I've pre-cooled the house. I've not paid for any of that energy for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Which could have been $4 or $5 and maybe not even needed sometimes. But I just know if I can pre-cool it, the earlier I can turn the aircon off, the longer I've got my battery to get me through the night.
Yeah.
You mentioned the white goods as well. So in the morning, when I turn my dishwasher on, I just say delay 4 hours. So I press a button 4 times instead of once. It takes a couple of seconds. If I've done a load of washing in the morning, chuck them in the dryer, put that on the delay for a couple of hours, so it runs for 3 or 4 hours in that window again. Washing machine, I probably won't have go on at that time, unless it's something random, maybe like some sheets or I don't know, a blanket or something that, you know what I mean, you don't mind if it sits in there for a couple of hours. You obviously don't want your clothes sitting there for 3 or 4 hours soaking wet before you can take them out. So that I probably won't adjust as much, and doesn't use as much power as a dryer anyway. The dryer might use 2 or 3 kilowatt hours. Yeah, you know what I mean. They obviously quite a high usage item. But yeah, I'll just try and isolate whatever I can into that window initially, and with an 11 kilowatt hour battery, which is what I have at the moment, that works really, really well.
Yeah. So you basically you've got your free window of energy. With Ovo. You've also got your solar system that's producing energy on most days from what, 7 a.m. this time of year, probably through till 4:30 when it starts really tapering off. So you don't have to concentrate everything into that window. But there are people out there now that are not even installing panels, installing batteries and just charging them during that window. Probably not ideal, because then obviously you don't have extra solar power after that window to see you through the rest of the day. You also don't have energy to charge a battery if the power cuts. So there's other benefits to having panels there, but technically you can have quite a large battery if you've got a decent size inverter that can charge it in that window of time. And then without solar panels, you can charge your battery for free, use it at night when it's expensive. Yeah,
that's the key as well there, is capacity. We're obviously installing some pretty big batteries now. So a lot of homes might have 40 or 48, 50 kilowatt hours of storage. If you've only got a 5 kilowatt inverter and you're using the method I am, you'd only get 15 kilowatt hours into that, 5 per hour.
Absolute maximum.
You've got a 10 kilowatt inverter, you know you can get 30 in there. So a lot of systems we're doing on single phase will be a 10 kilowatt inverter, 32 of storage, knowing that you can get virtually all that power in that window, even if it's pouring with rain. And if your usage averages out at about 30 a day, you've then got from 2 p.m. until 11 a.m. the next day to just have that battery in place, and it'll just steadily obviously taper through the night. On a 3-phase site, if you do a 15 or a 20 kilowatt inverter, you can potentially charge it in 2-3 hours as well. So just a conversation that we'll have. The other thing with Ovo to note, because I have an EV, they also do offer a midnight till 6 a.m. window. So that's the reason why it's quite suitable for myself as well, is that I may deplete my battery by midnight, but at least then that window between midnight and 6 a.m. is 8 cents.
Yeah, it's much better.
If I need to, put a bit more charge in the car, or you've got the heating on in the winter, like what I'll do with the heating in the winter is have it come on about 1 or 2 a.m. I don't like to go to sleep with it on. I'm not a fan of, ducted heat, like an old school fire, but it's what we have. And obviously with young kids in the house, our house gets a bit chilly. So if that can come on at night, at least I know that's only at 8 cents. So we've had some clients that maybe don't want to put in a massive battery, or there's a bit of a budget constraint, but they have an EV. So if we can at least guide them through that peak window to get them as close to midnight, then they're purchasing power at 8 cents. It's pretty affordable way of doing it. You top up your car 10 kilowatt hours, that's only 80 cents.
As a parity, would we be $3.60 or something if not?
Yeah, it's 8 cents versus say 32, just to say it's 4 times the price. Is there a drawback with Ovo? I guess just to sort of try and close that loop before talking about the VPP. The feed-in tariff is a bit lower. It's 2.7 cents, but then again, now most retailers are 3 or 4 cents.
Either way, you're not getting much from it, are you?
And the way that I look at it, and the way that I try and explain it to a lot of people that I speak to, is I view the feed-in tariff at 0. Realistically, because 2.7, I can send back 30 in the day, and I haven't even made $1.
And you won't be sending that much back if you're doing all this stuff with the timers and automating things anyway.
You're doing all these things, you're charging your battery as well. And that's something that we can set up either on the day of installation, or if you switch retailer later, we just do that remotely. It's really easy. So the feed-in tariff has no implication on what I do there. All I'm purely thinking about is get that battery charged, get everything used, firstly in the solar window, secondly in the 3-hour window. If I need to buy a bit of power after midnight, so be it. It's cost, nothing. I've had nights where we've had the heating and I've needed to charge the car. I might have bought 40 kilowatt hours between midnight and 6. It's $3 instead of $13, $14, $15. You can live with that. And I know with my system, I'm okay paying the supply charge that might be $1.20, $1.30 a day. So if my bill should be $5,000 a year and it's $400 worth of supply charge and maybe 100 or 200 for usage, saved over $4,000 a year. Like it's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's obviously by utilizing this tariff window. It doesn't have to be Ovo. That's just the one I was initially with.
Yeah.
And I've been with them now for about 18 months and it works great. Whereas obviously looping into like the VPP style, that wouldn't suit me as well because I'd obviously potentially discharge my battery quite quickly and then be buying peak power.
Yeah.
But obviously for yourself, very different scenario with a larger battery.
Yeah, so the difference between what you're describing in a VPP, the one that I use is Amber, that's probably by a long way the most popular right now.
Yeah.
The way that works is you're buying wholesale power. So if the wholesale rate is 1 cent, that's what you pay. If the wholesale rent is $1, that's what you pay. So for people that have a big enough battery to see them through the times where it costs $1, that's where it makes sense. To put that into a little bit more perspective, there's obviously a lot in between that 1 cent and $1. So typically during the day when there's a lot of solar energy going back into the grid, it can be anything from 2 or 3 cents, even into the negatives where you're paid to take power from the grid, maybe 1 or 2 cents. So it's not much, but just to put it in perspective, it can be free or less than free. But when you get into the evening, usually at 4:30 onwards, it can be quite commonly 35, 45, 50 cents. And then when you get what's called a price spike where the grid's really under strain, it can be into the dollars, into like $20 at times. But it's super rare that happens. And when that does happen and you've got a big battery, you can not only see yourself through that period, but also export energy back into the grid at those higher rates. Another thing to note there is that the buy and sell is not the same. So if it is in that really brief period, $20 a kilowatt hour, you probably get 18 or something for what you sell back. So that's in a nutshell how VPP works. So it's quite cheap overnight, although rarely as cheap as 8 cents. Interestingly, it's usually a bit more than that, but it's still quite cheap overnight. And then by the time the morning comes around and people are using things in their home, so usually from about 6 a.m. through till sort of 7:30 when solar energy is kicking in nationwide, it spikes again. Not as much as the evenings normally, but it can go up to 20, 30, 40 cents a kilowatt hour briefly, sometimes a bit more. Then during the day, it starts to go down and you get that period, that window where it's free or very cheap. And then in the evenings, it ramps up again. So if I had a 9 kilowatt hour battery installed, like you do.
Hey, mine's 11.
11, sorry.
Yeah.
Robbed you from a couple of kilowatt hours there.
That's the bit I need to get me through that window.
So if I had an 11 kilowatt hour battery installed, even if I had a 15 kilowatt hour battery installed, to be honest, I wouldn't have changed to Amber. I would have done something like you're doing.
Well, you did have one. So you had one originally.
Correct. And I didn't join the VPP. I had 27 kilowatt hours, 13 and a half kilowatt hours of storage. And I didn't see that was going to be enough. Then I put another Tesla Powerwall 2 in, took me to 27. And now I've moved to Amber. I've been with them for a couple of months now. But if you're not getting yourself through that window of time from sort of 4:30 through till 9, 10 o'clock at night, at the very least, not covering yourself, really you want to be exporting some then as well, then it's probably better to do what you're doing. That being said, those fixed costs, so the service fee on the bill is usually somewhere around $1.40 a day, I think, on average for people. And with Amber, it only costs you 96 cents, plus a $25 a month fee to Amber. So that's another fixed cost. But you're able to sell back at 20, 30, 40, 50 cents a kilowatt hour fairly regularly, which means you can offset those fixed costs. So that's how you get rid of your power bill. If you've got somebody that can talk you through and consult with you to work out how much power you're using and when, and also what you're going to do in the future, put a battery in that covers you and allows you to sell some back, you can definitely get a $0 bill. And some people have gone crazy with it and installed 100 kilowatt hour batteries, and they're actually making money. Not something that I've done, but I'm not against it either. It obviously works well for some people. I think one of the things we were talking about before as well was quite a few people are joining Amber and then leaving really quickly. You had one recently, I think.
Yeah, and I guess the benefit of Amber is quite seasonal. So at the time of recording this, it's spring. Obviously, generally pretty nice weather, abundant solar, quite low grid demand. Because obviously heating's tapered away, and no one's really using aircon yet. So you'll often see that negative price in the middle of the day because there's so much solar and no one to soak it up.
Yeah.
Often see that on the weekend, obviously, when less businesses are operating as well. So definitely seen that in the last couple of weeks where we've had a few clients that either have discussed that they want to move to Amber with this installation, or they've just done it on their own accord, which is fine. But at this time of year, the benefit of those price spikes are essentially non-existent, probably for the majority of like probably September and October, and then conversely maybe like that April-May window. You can still get a good feed in. You're probably still averaging out 20-25 cents quite easily, I would say, which is
right,
better than a retailer. However, the price spikes that you're seeing in a lot of the social media groups and the forums, and obviously on a lot of the social media ads that are pumping Amber as this amazing tool, which it definitely can be when it's done correctly and explained correctly, you're not really going to see those big spikes until most likely summer. So probably December, January time, could be earlier. But the big spikes where people are talking about several dollars, that's really going to be refined into maybe a handful of days in those months in the summer and winter. We did see quite a few as well. So you see the ones where it's like, I made $900 in a night. May happen that one night of the year with a massive battery and you've gone out for dinner and not used anything yourself, because remember, whatever sized inverter you have, whatever you're using in the home will take priority first. So if you had a 10 kilowatt inverter and you're able to export 10, but you're using 5, only 5 is going to the grid.
Yeah.
And that's happening obviously on a 5-minute window now. So you might get $1 for that 5 minutes, then 90 cents, then 80 cents, and up and down can obviously vary quite quickly now. But ultimately, if you're doing this in September and October, you're probably not going to see that. So we've had a few people that have jumped into Amber, not necessarily seen a benefit immediately. And the other part of that is there's a learning phase there.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
So there's about a 6 to 7 week learning phase with the algorithm. So it builds a usage profile on how the home uses energy over that period. So every day it'll get that little bit smarter and start to build a profile. But ultimately, in that initial phase, it's going to probably make some potential, say, wrong or erratic decision, because the battery may not be full. It'll buy power. The battery, they may dispatch some power, but once it understands what you're doing, and there's an override for that as well, it can be really, really beneficial. But it's worth, as I said, discussing that initially with the person you want to work with that can explain that in this detail, because we're going to see a lot of people jumping around all these things, especially with the subsidy now. I know I imagine the Amber member base has probably doubled in 2 or 3 months, and will likely treble in no time.
Yeah.
So it's not that the demand will soften there because of the storage on the network. It's just the time that it occurs as well. So you've probably seen it, because yours would have been on just caught maybe the end of winter for a few.
Bit. We've had one sort of significant spike there where it was, I can't remember what it was, to be honest, but it was more than $10 a kilowatt hour. But again, it doesn't last long. And when you do see those social media screenshots of like, I made $900, don't base your decision on that because it's rare and it's short-lived. They do happen, and overall, over a year, it adds to your savings. But it's not like if you're joining and thinking you're going to see that all the time, you're not. The other thing as well is a lot of people are a bit worried. You know, we talked about how you set all your things up on timers and stuff. You can do the same with Amber, but what you don't have to do is control the battery yourself. So we're talking about selling back in the evening and charging during the day. That just happens automatically. That learning period that you referred to there is so it can obviously understand your load profile and then learn to get it right and learn to charge and discharge on your behalf without you having to do anything. I'm about 2 months in now, and obviously in the industry, and I look at my app way less than I did a month ago. So there's a novelty there of checking it all the time, probably more so for me than others. But even for me, that's wearing off now. And the whole idea is set and forget, let the algorithm do its thing. Occasionally, maybe you want to do some manual stuff. And the other thing I would say also is it's not perfect. I'm 2 months in, it still does make mistakes. How could it not? You're dealing with so many variables. You've got to think about what's going on in the grid. They're trying to predict how much energy people are going to use. So that's impossible to get right. Weather patterns change that. How hot it is obviously is the obvious one. More air cons come on or off. So that's a prediction that needs to happen in the background, as well as what you're going to do with your power. So you might use it in a pattern, and that's where it's good. But ultimately, every evening is different, and every morning is different in every house. So if you join an Amber and you expect it to be perfect and it's not, and then you leave, you're doing yourself a disservice, because you really need to let it learn.
Yeah.
You really need to go through the 4 seasons, and you really need to see how your solar, battery, and how Amber is going to behave across those 4 seasons. And for me personally, obviously 27 kilowatt hour battery now, nearly 14 kilowatt hours of solar on the roof, 4 people in the home, young kids, and it's definitely the right way to go for me.
Yeah.
And I think my average use right now is about 45 kilowatt hours a day. I'm paying nothing.
Yeah.
In summer, mine last summer was up to over 100 kilowatt hours a day sometimes. So in the summer, I could probably be close to being for free as well. I think I'm not yet to see that yet, but it's really the only way you can do that.
Yeah.
If I wasn't with Amber, I'd be selling back energy at nothing.
Yeah.
As you said, I'd be trying to do the time stuff, and it just wouldn't work. So it's really, I guess, for me personally, definitely the best thing, and for you, Ovo is the best thing.
Right now, with what's available, obviously at the time of recording this, there might be changes to that as well over time. I'm sure there will be.
Yeah.
And obviously that's where, if you've got a great installer there and you've got that relationship in place and someone to support you, as things do change, like, another colleague of ours, he's putting in a pretty large battery, 48 kilowatt hours in a couple of weeks. That'll be on Amber. Another one's going to do about 40. That'll be on Amber. And again, that suits them.
Yeah.
Like other friends, I've got a sort of a mix, and I'll go through this full idea of what do you use, how do you use it, when do you use it, and then we can look at the right one and how it works. And if it needs to change, it can change. But as you said, you've got to give Amber that time.
Yeah.
And I believe it's probably 80% plus making correct decisions.
I'd say that's fair.
But initially, it's obviously going to do maybe have some little errors there while it learns.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess the take home point is, depends on your situation.
Yeah.
If you're considering a battery and a solar system, you should be having this conversation with the person who's installing it for you early on.
Yeah.
They should be consulting with you correctly, working out how much power you're using, what time of day you're using it, can that be adjusted? Okay, yes it can, no it can't, here's what the picture is. Now we work out the size of the battery.
Yes.
After finding out from you, what do you want out of it? Because not everyone wants to have a $0 power bill. A lot of people are happy just to supplement, and in that case, maybe they're to a different tariff and a different battery. But overall, you really want a detailed consultation period from someone who really knows what they're doing. And if you're not taking the time, and the consultant isn't taking the time to do that properly, that's probably where you're going wrong.
Yeah, I would say.
But yeah, I guess to summarize, depends on your situation. They're both great.
Yeah.
They both work. Obviously, yours is working really well for you. Mine's working really well for me. You just have to find out which is going to work well for you, and getting in touch with your installer is really the first place to start there. So if you are looking for a home solar and battery system, and that's why you're watching this video, we'll put a link in the description to the battery guide that we've put together. Click on that link. That's a free resource. And if you want further questions, please get in touch with us.
Thank you.
Thanks.